Hey guys, welcome to another day of Bible reading. Today we are in 2 Samuel 15 from verse 1. It goes all the way up to verse 37. We are going to learn about Absalom's conspiracy. And yeah, last time we read about basically how Job had to I don't know, conspire with the wise woman to get David to forgive Absalom and Absalom to come back into the land. But then even when Absalom was there, David was not talking to him. And then until Absalom decided to burn all of, well, I don't know if it was all, but some of Job's field, and then it got Job's attention, and then he set up a meeting with King David. And yay. And then my question for today is, have you ever been taken advantage of, like your kindness been taken advantage of? I know I'm a kind person, but have you ever helped someone in some way, and then in the way that you did, they figured, why am I just settling for this little? Why not just take the whole kitchen? I mean, why am I just settling for lunch? Why not just take the whole kitchen? Why not just take the whole kitchen and cook for myself? I'm like, that's kind of what happens in today's teaching. And yeah, stick around to find out how. And I know that if you have, like, it kind of ruins it for other people. You can have the desire to help people out of the goodness of your heart, but then when some people start taking advantage of that, and then you stop helping, now other people who are also gaining from your kindness and now are going to lose out. So yeah, let's get into it. After this, Absalom got himself a chariot and horses, and 50 men to run before him. So if you remember, Absalom made up with David. David even kissed him, was like, I missed you. And then, yeah, things were okay according to David. But then, according to Absalom, that kind of motivated him to be like, why am I just settling for this? I mean, this king allowed so much wrong to go on, and let me just take over. I mean, I might as well. So the meeting with David kind of motivated him to now conspire against his own father. And David's forgiveness of what Absalom did was seen as a weakness. Now imagine, so, like, I know David was wrong. He didn't do anything to help with the situation of his son and other daughter. Daughter and other son. But now Absalom is like, no, let's go all the way. And then, yeah, now verse 2. And Absalom used to ride early and stand beside the way of the gate. And when any man had a dispute to come before the king for judgment, Absalom would call to him and say, from what city are you? And when he said, your servant is of such and such a tribe of Israel. So from this, Absalom got like men and chariot to go with him everywhere. Basically, he had his own entourage, just showing his power. And then now he decided to stand in the entrance of the gate, where everyone who had issues, they would go and talk to David or the king or whoever, the advisors, the judges, the counselors. And then Absalom took advantage of that. He intercepted it. So all the people that had grievances now were helped by Absalom, instead of going to David or the right people. So yeah, and Absalom would say to him, see, your claims are good and right, but there is no man designated by the king to hear you. So here I can understand where Absalom saw the need. He's like, actually, there is a need for someone to help these people here, But he's like, no, I'm going to use that for my own advantage. So it's like, yeah, when everyone comes, it's like, yo, see, where are you from? I'm from so and so. And I'm like, oh, okay. You see, if I was here, if the king had designated someone here to help you, yeah, like you wouldn't have to deal with so much, and I would help you so much. But because the king, like, yeah, he was kind of bad mouthing the king, and in a way, he kind of tried to prove himself to be useful, but in the wrong way. So my question is, why didn't he try to do this for good? He saw the need and he saw that he could actually help. If he actually went to the king and be like, let's work together, let me help you, and yeah, we can make this thing work. Probably David would have agreed or wouldn't have agreed, but yeah. But yeah, that never happened. So yeah. And so which also kind of shows that after meeting with David, it kind of showed him that I can take David. I mean, he's my father, but I can take him, right? I mean, if we were to go head to head, I could take him. So so he thought he had a good chance of defeating his own father, the king. But then also he was coming from the point of view that so much had gone wrong and he did nothing about it. So he's weak. He is weak. Let me kick him while he's down. Yeah. Then yeah, verse 4. Then Absalom would say, oh, that I were a judge in the land, then every man with a dispute or cause might come to me, and I would give him justice. So he was promising everyone justice. Because remember, when you are going through the most, you just want someone to hear you. You just, like, you don't necessarily need someone to try to fix your situation. You just want someone to hear you and understand where you're coming from. So Absalom was presenting that here. And obviously it resonated with everyone. They're like, you're right. I mean, King David doesn't even want to talk to us, so you're here. I mean, and you're promising us justice, even though it wasn't fair. It wasn't realistic, because you can't promise everyone justice, because at some point someone would do something wrong and they would want to get away with it. But then if you are really just, then you wouldn't let that happen. But then he's promising everyone that no, if I was in charge, you'd be taken care of. And he was winning their hearts and promising to give all justice. So yeah, and whenever a man came near to him to pay homage to him, he would put out his hand and take hold of him and kiss him. So whenever someone came to Absalom for, like, to try to honor him and bow, Absalom would put out his hand and then grab the other person's hand and kiss them. Now imagine, now in the olden days, the king or the king's son or whatever position kissing your hand, because like kiss on the hand kind of had like a good meaning. So it symbolized deep respect. Now this is coming from the king. Absalom is showing disrespect to the servants. Obviously they would feel honored, and it shows like submission, like he is submitting to them, as much as they are like in a lower position, but he is humbling himself in submission to them, and shows honor and loyalty. So as someone who comes to seek help and then you receive that kind of recognition, you'll be like, I am so honored, thank you, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And that's Absalom did to all of Israel who came to the king for judgment. So Absalom stole the hearts of men. He knew how to get to to the hearts of men. He knew how to get people's attention. Remember how he got Job's attention by burning his field, and now he's getting the people's attention by like honoring them, like just showing them a little bit of respect. And obviously it's not something that the king would do. So everyone is melted by his kindness. Oh, he's such a good king. And at the end of 4 years, Absalom said to the king, "Please let me go and pay my vow now, which I have vowed to the Lord in Hebron." So it took Absalom 4 years to do all of this. Now after 4 years, it goes to the king. "Can I go to the house of the Lord and pay my vow that I made?" Because remember, he was in Hebron, fleeing from his responsibilities, and now he made a promise to God. "Oh yeah, for your servant vowed a vow while I lived in Geshur in Aram, saying, if the Lord still indeed bring me back to Jerusalem, then I will offer worship to the Lord." So here everything just seems like this is a man of his word. He is showing remorse, like repentance. He is doing a complete 180, considering what he had done, and now he's like, let me go and do what I had promised to the Lord when things were not good. So now let me honor my, let me be a man of my word. And it kind of shows that David did not suspect anything, because the king said to him, "Go in peace." So he arose and went to Hebron. So David does not suspect anything. No one has said anything to him. According to David, I don't know, which is kind of weird, because like this took 4 years. So according to David, Absalom was just going there and then talking to the people for what? Well, he didn't even know about that, which is like suspicious. Don't be suspicious. But Absalom sent a messenger throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, as soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, then say, Absalom is the king of Hebron. Yeah. So Absalom is making sure, like, he is a planner. I can see, like, this man is a planner, because remember how he planned to get his brother killed, and now he's planning to take over the kingdom from his own father. Like, he tells the Israelites who he had been winning over for the past 4 years that when you hear the trumpet, you must say, Absalom is king, Absalom is king. And then anyone would be like, oh, I don't know. But yeah, Absalom is king, Absalom is king. And yeah. And with Absalom went 200 men who went to Jerusalem, who were invited guests, and they went in their innocence and they knew nothing. So basically 200 men went with Absalom to worship at Jerusalem. That's all they knew they were doing. But it turns out Absalom had other plans, but they didn't know, and now they found themselves in this coup that they are trapped. They are trapped. The 200 men were trapped and no way out, because now you can't say, oh no, we are not part of this, especially when you hear now people are singing and chanting that Absalom is king. Now you're like, okay, I'd rather align myself with the new king than fight for a kingdom when I was just here for prayer. I'm nobody. I just came here to pray, and now I find myself having to do all of this. So I can understand their silence, that from here nothing came out. So yeah, and while Absalom was offering the sacrifice, he sent for Ahithophel the Gilonite, David's counselor from the city of Gilo, and the conspiracy grew strong, and the people with Absalom kept increasing. So, as you heard that Ahithophel was a counselor of David's counselor. So that was the first official person that Absalom recruited to his army or his, I don't know, regime. So yeah, and then who is Ahithophel? Why was it so important for Ahithophel to go with Absalom, and why did Absalom think he could? Because you cannot just go to anyone just think that they would go with you. You tend to go with the people that, I mean, if you're studying something, you tend to go with the people that want to see you succeed. So who is Ahithophel? Why was it possible or even important for him to be part of? Yeah. So Ahithophel was Absalom's father. I mean, no. I mean, Bathsheba's dad. Bathsheba was, if you remember, Bathsheba was Solomon's mom, and so Ahithophel was also Solomon's grandfather. Why was he upset? Like, why did he now go with Absalom? Because David ruined his daughter's marriage. It means that he knew what David did to get Bathsheba. Now it doesn't matter that now Bathsheba is now the queen's wife, but yeah, he was angry because of that. So I'm guessing that David kept him in that position. It could be maybe he was in that position all along, or he kept him in that position to kind of hush him over and be like, I know I wronged you, but if I give you a good position, then you're going to forgive me. So it works either way. And yeah, now Absalom's conspiracy is increasing. The man is getting stronger and stronger, including the 200 innocent people. Now he has an advisor already. Someone who was counseling the king now is counseling the new king. Now we are in verse 13. David flees Jerusalem. And a messenger came to David saying, the hearts of men of Israel have gone after Absalom. I mean, it was bound to happen. So a messenger now comes to David and tells him what is going on. Then David said to all his servants who were with him at Jerusalem, arise and let us flee, or there will be no escape for us from Absalom. Go quickly, lest he overtakes us quickly and brings down ruin on all of us, and strike the city with the edge of the sword. So you heard. A messenger came to David and was like, Absalom is trying to destroy the kingdom, is taking over. And David's first response was, let's run away, let's flee, let's run for our lives. Yeah, that would be so disappointing, especially considering that this man destroyed so many nations. He took over so many nations, and now his son comes and then is promising to destroy him. But his first response is like, no, let me run away. Let us run away. We don't want to be destroyed by him. Imagine hearing this from your king. You'd be like, what kind of a king are you? But yeah, we can understand that David was in his old age. He was not as young. And obviously, if his son is old enough to try to take the kingdom from him, it means that David also is in his advanced years. Now, he probably is thinking, I might not survive this, but also I wouldn't want to lose so many people out of pride. Especially, it's not because it wasn't, all of this didn't start because of God telling him to do something. So I can understand a little bit. And the king's servant said to the king, Behold, your servants are ready to go to do whatever the Lord, my lord the king, decides. And yeah, as a servant, obviously he didn't have a backbone. And if the king is like, okay, let's run for our lives, you're like, okay, let's run for our lives. And yeah, so now the people, they are ready to go. So then the king went out, or the king, verse 16. So the king went out, all his household after him, and after him, and the king left 10 concubines to the house. And the king went out. Okay, so David went out and left his house, and then and they left 10 concubines. Concubines, if you remember, concubines were women. What was the point? I mean, as a woman, we all know that I cannot defend. Like, so what was the point? Because, yeah, I'm so glad that I wasn't born in those times, honestly. I can understand the need that if, of course, Absalom comes and finds the house vacant, then he can just take it over. But then also, he finds these 10 women. The same can still happen. No one is going to fight and try to protect the house. So, what's the difference? I don't know. Now verse 17. And the king went out, and all the people after him, and they halted at the last house. So all the people came left with him, and then they stopped at the last house. And all his servants passed by him, and all the Cherethites, and all the Pelethites, and all the 600 Gittites who had followed him from Gath passed on before the king. So they stopped at the last house in the city, and then now he let everyone else go ahead of him. I guess protect him from behind. I don't know if you guys have seen that video of like the in like, you know how people always claim to be the alpha male, but then they want to lead from in front, and then they don't even know what's going on behind them. So it kind of reminded me of that, how David is leading from behind, making sure that all the people that he cares about are ahead, and obviously Absalom would try to attack from behind. And yeah, like, oh. So when the king said to Ittai the Gittite, Why do you also go with us? Go back and stay with the king, for you are a foreigner and also an exile from your home. So Ittai was just an innocent man who came seeking refuge, and then now he's like, let me be loyal. David, you were good to me, so let me rather live with the king that I know than stay behind with the king that I don't know. But now David is like, you've only been here for a day, so you don't owe me loyalty. Rather stay with the king. Now this is David referring to Absalom as the king. He doesn't see himself as the king anymore. Like the switch was so quick. Just like that, now David doesn't see himself as the king anymore. So now he's even telling Ittai to go with Absalom, or already calling Absalom king. Like, now you came only yesterday, and shall I make you wander about with us, since I know not. Since I go not no way. English, old English, oh my goodness. So basically he's saying, stay here instead of wandering with us, because I don't even know where we are going. I can't tell you where we are going, so I can't promise your safety. Go back and take your brothers with you, and may the Lord show steadfast love and faithfulness to you. So basically, he's blessing Ittai, saying, go and, yeah, like the Lord will be with you. I'm blessing you. Go. Like I'm not. I know you wanted to honor me, but it's not necessary. Just go back and choose a life. But Ittai answered the king, as the Lord lives, and as my lord the king lives, wherever my lord the king shall be, whether for death or for life, there shall also your servant be. So Ittai is promising loyalty to David despite knowing him for just a short period, which is not something a lot of people can do these days. Everyone is quick to leave as soon as their life is perceived to be in some kind of danger. And now Ittai, who's only known David for a couple of days, he's choosing to remain loyal to him. That's commendable. And David said to Ittai, go then, pass on. So basically just go ahead with everyone then. And yeah. And so Ittai the Gittite passed on with all his men and all the little ones who were with him. So he came with his family and all the people who were with him. And all the land wept aloud as all the people passed by, and the king crossed the brook Kidron, and all the people passed on toward the wilderness. So everyone now is living, and everyone is crying. Like, yeah. I'm like, if it kind of feels like if it was a movie, I'd be like, be quiet, you don't want to get the attention of Absalom and his army. Be quiet. But yeah. But yeah, so so everyone went ahead of David. And Abiathar came, and behold, Zadok came also with all the Levites, bearing the ark of the covenant of the Lord. If you remember, only the Levites were allowed to carry the ark of the covenant of the Lord. And now Abiathar and Zadok were the two Levites that were holding the ark. Now they come and they're holding it, and they set down the ark of God until the people had passed out of the city. So they put down the ark and let everyone go. Everyone pass and made sure that, yeah, everyone must be safe. Then the king said to Zadok, carry the ark of God back into the city. If I find favor in the eyes of the Lord, he will bring me back and let me see both it and his dwelling place. David is like, I understand we are running for our lives, but leave the ark of the covenant back in the house of the Lord. And if God is choosing to bless me with life beyond whatever this is, then I will see the ark of the covenant. But if he chooses to take my life in all of this, then let that be it. But he says, but if he says, I have no pleasure in you, behold, here I am. Let him do to me what seems good to him. So David, as much as he is fleeing for his life, is still choosing to say, may the will of God be done. May God's will be done. Even though the ark of the covenant can kind of guarantee some kind of safety, but I don't want to use God's presence as a tool. I would rather God decide what he does on his own. I don't want to try to, not that he could, but if you remember that I think it was when Eli was dying and his son Phineas and Hophni, they were dying, like around that time they had the Ark of the Covenant. They took it into battle thinking that the Lord would certainly protect them, but the Moabites captured the the ark, and that led to Phineas and Hophni and Eli dying, and also I think Phineas's wife also dying. So now David is like, I have learned from that mistake. I would rather let God decide how to handle all of this instead of me now deciding how God should deal with it. So, like, okay. Then the king also said to Zadok the priest, "Are you not a seer?" Zadok is, remember, is a Levite, also with Abiathar. They're holding the Ark of the Covenant. Now David is asking me, aren't you a seer? Like, aren't you a prophet? Are you not? So go back to the city in peace with your two sons, Ahimaaz, your son, and Jonathan, the son of Abiathar. So Ahimaaz was the son of Zadok, and Jonathan was the son of Abiathar. So they were working with them. So David is telling all of them to go back. You are a prophet, aren't you? So let's see why that is important. See, I will wait at the ford of the wilderness until the word comes from you to inform me. Okay, so now David is saying, go, I will wait for you to tell me what's up. I will wait at the the fords of the wilderness until you come and tell me what to do. So basically, David is sending Zadok and Abiathar, who are carrying the Ark of the Covenant, to be spies for him. I don't know, I think so. And so Zadok and Abiathar carry the Ark of God back to Jerusalem, and they remain there. Okay. Now, so far we have Abiathar, Zadok, their two sons, and I think all the other Levites too. So, but the four in charge are the ones that David told, tell me what happens, specifically Zadok. But David went up the ascent of the Mount of Olives, weeping as he went, barefoot with his head covered, and all the people who were with him covered their heads, and they went up weeping as they went. So they're going up the top of the mountain, everybody's crying, mourning. Oh no. And it was told, Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom. Then this is where David finds out that Ahithophel, his father-in-law, is also amongst the conspirators, the people. Like basically his son, his father-in-law, are betraying him. And David said, oh Lord, please turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness. Yeah. Now David is asking God for help. Like, God, please, obviously his counsel was not foolish when he was saving under David. But now David is like, God, please turn his counsel into foolishness. Let him fail in his counseling. Okay, imagine. While David was coming to the summit where God was worshipped, behold, Hushai the Archite came to meet him with his coat torn in dirt on his and dirt on his head. So Hushai also came and covered in dirt and also mourning for everything that was going on. And David said to him, if you go on with me, you will be a burden to me. But if you return to the city and say to Absalom, I'll be your servant, O king, as I have been your father's servant in time past, so now I will be your servant, then he will defeat for me the counsel of Ahithophel. So this is another person that David is sending to be a spy from the inside of Absalom's house, Absalom's, whatever. So, like, yeah, if you go with me, you will be a burden because I will have to take care of you, and rather you go and tell me what's going on, and let's defeat Absalom from the inside. As much as I kind of can see why it was more beneficial for David to not attack Absalom head on, because more lives would have been lost. A lot of lives would have been lost. But this way, he gave himself and all the others a chance to, plan and see where all of this is going. At first, I was like, David, like the David that we know from the earlier chapters, he was a fighter. And as much as, yes, he started by fleeing from King Saul, but he could have still defeated Saul. But here he's still back to that kind of David where I don't get into anything until my God tells me to. God has not told me to fight Absalom, so I'm not going to fight him. It takes a lot to restrain yourself like that. I mean, of course, Absalom was also his son, and he also loved Absalom, and he was also hopeful that Absalom would just turn around and, repent. He was hopeful. Obviously, he was hopeful as his son, as his father, but he also knew that there are innocent people who would be caught in all of this. It would not be worth the bloodshed. Rather, let me leave, and then we can now fight from a different angle, in a way. Okay, I see. Honestly, I thought that David was weak, but it still shows the wisdom and that he is relying on God even in all of this. He's not using the Ark of the Covenant for his benefit, and he is not studying anything without God telling him. Absalom is here. It's going down. But since God had not told him to do anything, rather, let's leave. And once we settle down, we can ask God, what do we do? So I can see it. I can see it. So far, the people that he sent was Ittai. Ittai chose to stay with David. So it was Abiathar and Zadok and their sons and the Levites, and also Hushai, the Archite. So I don't know how many, because each man came with a few people. So, yeah, back to verse 35. Are not Zadok and Abiathar the priests with you there? So Hushai the Archite, David is asking Hushai, aren't Zadok and Abiathar the priests there with you? So whatever you hear from the king's house, tell it to Zadok and Abiathar the priest. So whatever. So Hushai is going to be serving Absalom closely. And now David is saying, whatever you hear from the king, tell it to Zadok and Abiathar, and then they will pass it to me. Okay. I was quick. Behold, their two sons are with them there. Amihaz, Zadok's son, and Jonathan, Abiathar's son, and by them you shall send to me anything you hear. So he's just reassuring him that, no, you won't be alone. I'm not putting you in danger. Zadok and his son, Abiathar and his son are also there. So whatever you hear, tell me. So Hushai, David's friend, came into the city just as Absalom was entering Jerusalem. And that's it. So just as Absalom was entering Jerusalem, Hushai comes in. Now they are meeting head to head, and we'll see what happens next week. So I was thinking, like, the three Davids. Basically, here we see three different versions of David. The first David was the David who submitted to God and had to flee from Saul so many times, even though he could have easily taken Saul, but he chose to submit to God in everything, in every way. And now the second David is the David who was the king of nations and taking over, like left, right, and center. David was conquering nations and nations, but yeah, that is the second David. And now this old David, who is passive, no accountability, and just it is what it is. No fight. I'm saying this because nothing happened when Amnon essayed Tamar and Absalom killed Amnon. Nothing happened. So it's giving. It happened. It's spilled. No use crying over spilled milk. So back to our question of the day. Have you ever been, your kindness, have you ever been taken advantage of? Because we can see how it happened here, that David was just trying to be a father to Absalom, and Absalom saw that as a sign of weakness. Like we cannot have that here. And honestly, it happens. If it happened to me, I don't remember, if I'm being honest, but I know it probably happened. I just forgave and moved on. So yeah, let's keep our hearts soft. And as much as people take advantage of our kindness, or also remember that nobody owes you anything. As much as you would like to be helped, you desire help and everything, no one owes you anything. If they choose to help you, is out of the goodness of their heart, and you should appreciate that. And even if they choose not to help you, you should be grateful that now, I guess, like, now you know who you can count on. But also at least they were honest with you, and they told you that no, I'm not comfortable with it. I remember when I was coming to Korea, I kind of didn't have the funds, so I had to go around asking the people in my, like, the people that I knew that were always bragging about money. I was like, hey guys, I am going somewhere and I need a bunch of money for flights and tickets and all of that. But this other guy was like, yeah, I can help you, call me, let's just say, call me on Tuesday and then we will talk about it. I was like, oh, okay, done, sorted. Obviously I was happy. And then I think the good thing was that I just continued to talk to other people, so I had a lot of help from a lot of people. And then now that Tuesday came, I called the person, he didn't answer. I called, he didn't answer. And I called him again, like the next day, still nothing. No calls, like no messages, nothing. And now I've been here for 4 years in Korea, and I let it go. I know I was disappointed that obviously it means he was just flashing with no desire to help. But we ended up losing the friendship because he decided to look good instead of being honest. So still saying that, yes, I lost the friendship, we lost the friendship, but we gained clarity. I gained clarity. I know that, and I've showed my appreciation to the people that were helpful to me. So some people did take advantage of my kindness, and I have honestly forgiven so much that I don't remember. And most of the time I remember because someone brings it to my attention. But yeah, let's not be the reason that someone prays, like someone seeks God's hand to intervene. Like, God, take vengeance for me, God, do something. Let's not be that. I'm not saying I did that. I'm just saying, like, if you can help, it's a Christ character. And if you can't help, honesty is also Christ's character. So be honest and help where you can. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Next time we are going to read about David and Ziba. And yeah, so the conspiracy continues. And yeah, it's also giving Nathan's prophecy. So we will see, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for the day, and have a good night, have a good day, have a good week. See you next time. I love you. Jesus loves you. Bye bye.